everyone. Today we have a very dynamic personality here at the Google I/O Connect 2025 India at Creator Studio. Meet a very dynamic personality into the Cloud Developer Advocacy APAC head, Mr. Prashant Subramanya. Hi Prashant, how are you?
I'm good, Antrix. Thank you so much. Thanks for such a you over-elevated who I am, but again, thank you so much. I'm glad to be here with you, having a chat with you.
Thank you so much. It's our pleasure to host you at this Creator Studio with me. Okay, so Prashant, before we start, I just want to know how's your experience at the Google I/O Connect 2025 here?
It's been good. I think so. The kind of the innovations, the kind of the experiences that we have here, it's been quite good. I've been interacting with a lot of people. So one, we have these sessions, we have workshops. Just while coming over here, I saw that there's a huge queue for the workshops. Right. So we have like a 50, 60 capacity for the workshops, but I see there are over 150 people waiting to get in. Right. So it's really amazing to see that folks are here wanting to learn, right? Wanting to see what's new, wanting to get hands-on. So yes, the interest is amazing. Plus, I've had a lot of hallway conversations with folks, which is really exciting to see, that the interest, what they want to learn from tech and with Google Cloud. So it's been a good day.
Nice. It's really great to see when people perform the hands-on labs in the events, especially in the tech events, focusing sometimes onto the conferences part rather than spends more time onto the hands-on. So they can. It's really good initiative also from the Google and the tech events that the participants can learn from the experts directly, those who build these products for the Google, right?
Correct. Absolutely.
It's really nice to see this kind of excitement in the participants. It's really great. So if I talk about the AI, everyone everywhere is talking about the AI. Everyone is talking about the AI. What is the best tech that you are following in AI right now on Google Cloud stack?
AI, as you said, right? AI is everywhere, right? And what we have at Google Cloud, we have some of the state-of-the-art models, right? We have the Gemini 2.5 Pro, which is our state-of-the-art model, right? And this is the hosted model that we have. We also have the open-weight Gemma model, right? So Gemma 3, Gemma 3N, which we recently spoke about, this is a really small model, a lot of mobile portable use cases that it can serve. So one is you have these models. But the other thing is, with the Gemini API, you can access it through the API. But with the self-hosted models, you need some place to run it, right? Not all of us are GPU rich, right? So some of the newer advances that we have is Cloud Run. Cloud Run, which is a serverless runtime. I don't need to worry about infra, but I get GPUs with Cloud Run. Right, so I'm able to run any kind of open-weight models on it. So that is really, really exciting. We are also having this thing about not just live inference, but also batch mode inference. We have Cloud Run with GPU support in batch mode, which is very exciting. So a lot of interesting stuff happening with this. Oh, I love Code Assist. Right, so it's been. I am a techie by heart, right? But I just not had the time to code so much of late. Right, so while I do some over the weekends during my free time, it's still, I have more ideas piling up in my head than I'm able to implement. So again, with coding assistance, with Gemini CLI, I'm a big fan of Gemini CLI, right? Because it's open source,
right?
And I can go hack around, I can understand how it works, I can tweak it a little bit. So I've been spending a lot of my time on these products, Cloud Run GPUs, Gemini, CLI, Code Assist. Most of my time is going on this.
You use a very interesting term in this conversation, like open weight.
Yeah.
Right? We had a great discussion when we were in Pune a few months back, right? Can you just please tell us, our audience, what is the major difference in open weight or the open source models?
Sure. It's good, right? I mean, great question. It's easy to, we use the term open source for everything that is freely available.
Right?
That is not the case. Open source, essentially, so first thing when you look at it, the models, these models, every model has something called weights, right? And these are the parameters, billion parameters, and all these things, the way that we refer to these models. What you get in a model that is freely available are the parameters, the weights of that model, right? That is what is technically opened up, right? Now, you could say open source, but what is source in this, in a model? When you look at source code, where you use the term open source normally, it is an entire source code, it is a libraries, it's a dependencies, you see all of those things. in an open source model, technically, right? If you want to look at an open source model, you need to understand what this model has been trained on.
Right.
How have you acquired the data for training?
Right.
What kind of training, RLHF, fine-tuning practices have gone into the model? If all of that, the entire end-to-end process from acquiring the data to train the model until the final model, if that entire thing is made available, that is when you would ideally want to call it open source, right? Whereas if just the model is made available to you, then that's an open weight model. It's sort of like a subset of open source. So it's not right to call it open source. I prefer to call it an open weight model.
Okay. So suppose if I'm working on some projects into the regulated industry, okay, and can I fine tune the open weights model?
Absolutely. Open weight models are, and that's why it's open, right? You can always fine tune it. You can run it through a fine tuning pipeline, collect your data, bring it in and fine tune it. It's 100% possible. Open weight models are, most of these models, right? When you want to put it into production, your path to production is to, especially if you have a you have a very specific use case, right? Like you're in a specific industry vertical, you would want to try fine tuning it, but you do that at a later stage. So firstly, all these models are really, really capable models, right? You do your context engineering, as a new term is, right? Prompt engineering, context engineering. You bring in your RAG, bring in your documents to it so that it is able to read all that. Use all these patterns, but if none of these satisfy your needs and you need to have your eval scores and all to check if this is giving you the output, last stage, yes, you can do the fine tuning. I wouldn't recommend fine tuning as the first option,
right?
But it is possible to fine tune those models.
It is lots of infra required for the fine tuning.
Exactly.
Totally agree with your point. But suppose when we are doing the fine tuning, the open weights model, open source models directly we can use that. If somebody is using the open weight model, changing the parameters, the weightages as per their, do they have to be sign any contract with the model providers?
No, not really. No. So it depends, right? Because you have so many open weight models out there. You need to look at the licenses.
Okay.
See, the same as open source. Open source, you have your MIT, Apache licenses, you have your GPL licenses.
Right.
Right? Each of them behave in a different way, right? Depending on the license that you're using, you need to make your source code also open if you're using any library that has a GPL, for example, right? And things have been changing a lot, but you need to understand what the licenses mean. Similarly, with open weight models, you have terms and conditions that you agree to, right? So whenever you use any open weight model, you need to look at the terms and conditions. Some models are released for educational purposes only.
Okay.
You shouldn't be using it for profit or commercial reasons.
All right.
Some models are built in a way that you cannot train other models using this model.
Okay.
Right? You can fine tune it, but don't use it for training other models. Right? So you need to look at the terms and conditions. Each model has a different terms and conditions that you need to understand.
Okay. There is a one terms comes, okay, we are using this model, we are getting a very vague results, right? See, I totally believe there is nothing wrong with the model. It's the starting point of the evaluations, the weight configurations, the execution of the model pipelines, that create some issues for the results out, right? Like suppose if somebody is using in a healthcare, right? And this is something wrong recommendation has generated. Can, by using these open weight models or these open source model, can we use the federated learnings as well in that? So the next time we get a good results on it?
Definitely, yes. And that's a great point, right? So this is where we are stuck in a lot of things. We do local testing of these models, right? But it is not enough. So you need to think really hard about how you take these models and how you take your pipelines into production, right? There has to be some sort of a continuous learning. You need to understand the model and say, again, you brought out healthcare, right? So healthcare is a very important domain, right? It's a regulated domain. We have to be very careful. Plus, there's a lot of risk associated with it, right?
Exactly.
I wouldn't recommend any healthcare usage of an AI model without a human in the loop, right?
Sure.
It has to be validated by a certified medical professional, especially if it's something critical like a prescription or, some kind of a medical advice that you give to a patient, right? So that's first thing you have to take care. Now, while you do this, either by the patient themselves or, not by a patient, but maybe somebody who's consuming this information, right? Maybe it's workout information, right? Or supplements or something like that, right? Even if it's safe supplements. That feedback has to be fed back into the pipeline, right?
Okay.
So you need to be able to store this. Typical production workflow is where you store the data, you store the kind of prompts that is being done in an obfuscated, non-PII way, right? You learn whether this is the right results, wrong results. Use that for further fine-tuning, further RLHF. That process has to go through. In domains like healthcare, you have to be careful that all the sensitive information is actually scraped out.
Okay.
Right? But yes, when you go to production, you have to have this kind of a learning process. Right? So that has to be built.
Directly with the blind eyes, we cannot believe on that.
Exactly.
For the regulated industry, we need a human in the loop.
100%.
The certified practitioners,
Yes.
those who can validate the result.
Absolutely.
Nice, Prashant, to know that, because I works into the regulated industry from a quite long time, and this is the customers ask these questions, and this how we can solve this. It's a really great thing. Okay. So the next thing is you are working into the developer advocacy. For the audience, we want to know what exactly the developer advocacy means.
Got it. Oh, okay. Thank you for asking the question, right? Let me say, so the umbrella term that many people use is developer relations, right? And then there are other terms like developer evangelism. We like the term developer advocate.
Okay.
Right? So our team is developer advocacy, and I am a developer advocate, right? And all the folks we call ourselves developer advocates. What does this mean, right? We are here for the developers.
Okay.
Right? We are advocating on your behalf. We are not here to sell you Google Cloud or, the Google products. We are not here to promote what we have.
Right.
We want to see how we can help you solve your problems with technology. Right? So that's why we like this term, that we are advocating for the developers. If not, we'll be called Google Cloud advocates.
Yes.
Right? I'm a developer advocate. I'm working for developers. So that is basically what we do. Essentially, what we try to do as developer advocacy is we try to understand what is it that a developer or a user is trying to do, what problems are they trying to solve, what technology can help them to solve it, and is the technology, we are a technology provider, right? As Google Cloud. Is the technology that we are offering solving your problems or not? Right? That is my first thing. My first thing is to ensure that I have the products and the APIs and the SDK that satisfies your needs. If not, this is a great opportunity for me to get feedback from the developers, take it back to the product, work on the product, maybe it's all it needs is creating more documentation, creating videos, creating tutorials, right? But this is the kind of the cycle, the workflow that we do. So yeah, so that's what a developer advocacy does.
Great. So the next question that I got it from a survey.
Is it?
Okay. Like, what are some underrated or the lesser known Google Cloud tools or services that the developers often overlook?
Okay. Okay. No, that's good, right? I mean, so I realize this, right? So we talk so much about AI,
right?
That most of the other things is now going behind the scenes, right? You think everything is all about AI. Everybody's talking about AI. But there are other core services that you need to be aware. You need to keep in mind.
Right.
I feel fundamentally there are three important things, right? There is your runtime.
Yeah, exactly.
Right? There is your database where the data is there, right? And there is, again, you bring in an AI as a third piece, right? In an AI application. So what is happening? What are the advances in the runtime side of things, right? Like, for example, I spoke about Cloud Run and GPUs, right? So again, that is something on the infra side of things, right? Which is, you don't consider it when you're directly working with AI, but when you start going into production, when you want to start running your workloads, you need to talk about it, right? Now, this production application, how is it being used, right? So you need to think about, so again, AI is expensive, right? If you use it, if you have a lot of traffic coming through and so on.
Right.
Now, people, and again, depending on your use, you may not be satisfied with one answer, you may keep retrying it, you get multiple answers. So your call volumes increases, right? So you need to think about caching, right? Like, have you looked at those kind of aspects, where you have semantic caching involved? You need to look at things like preventing bad traffic from coming in, right? So your security suite. Security is generally there's not too much in the focus, but AI security is very, very important. Somebody shouldn't be jailbreaking your AI application.
I agree.
Right? So do you have a security suite in place? Do you have bot detection in place that is preventing unnecessary API calls from coming in? It's not about the API calls coming from the bot, but it's creating a denial of service for your actual users, right? It's going to make performance slow for them. So security suite is important. Putting things in production. So we spoke about pipelines.
Right.
What is your CI/CD pipeline looking like? Right? What is your feedback pipeline, data pipeline looking like? So those are some other important aspects as well. Right? So there's a lot that goes into an application. It's not just about AI. Right? So yes, these are definitely security, your build pipeline, CI/CD, DevOps. Databases is generally ignored, but it's the most fundamental thing for building an application.
Without the databases, we cannot.
Nothing you can do, right?
We cannot build any application.
Exactly. Yeah.
And one thing that I generally get, can we say the LLM security or the GenAI security? can be a next big thing in the 2 years, 3 years down the line when these all models, applications, prototypes will go into the production?
Don't wait for 2-3 years. Do it right now.
Okay.
Right? It's important right now, right? Because see, we talk about you need to build your processes, and there's this term called shift left. Right? You think about what happens in the beginning, right? The like testing and things. You do more testing earlier because once something goes into production and you find a bug, it's more expensive to fix a bug in production. Right? Similar to security, have your security posture right from the very beginning. Right? Start thinking about how can people misuse what you're building out while you're building it out. Don't wait for things to go into production. Right? And it's much more easier to incorporate all these security best practices right up. So you need to do it right away. Right? So don't wait until your application matures or go out there. At least from a planning point of view, start thinking about security right away. Implementation, maybe wait a couple of months till you have a mature product, right? Or before it goes into production. But start planning it right from the very, very beginning.
Nice. Because I'm working on that particular part. And there is another thing called A2A, right? Agent to agents, right? And then we have the ADKs as well, agents development kits. We are building the agents, okay? Is there any way we can go inside the agent and check how the two agents is talking with each other?
Sure. See, again, a great question, right? And honestly, I've not tried this out, but the idea is exactly this, right? Firstly, these are open protocols, right? And that is why we are building these protocols out in the open, right? So the MCP, A2A, all these are open protocols so that everybody can understand how the communication is designed between these entities, right? And as long as you understand the protocol, you should be able to build in your observability and telemetry. So one thing with ADK that you mentioned, right? So with ADK, we have this very intuitive web interface, right? When your agentic application runs, what is it doing? How is it thinking? What tools is it using? Right. What API AI calls it is making, right? How many AI calls it is making? All of this telemetry observation you get right out there in the web UI, right? And this is very, very important because, we've had people running an agent application, suddenly they see $100 bill, right? Fine, you got a bill, but what happened? Why did it escalate, right? Did it end up making 50 calls to the AI without arriving at a solution, right? So this is why observability and telemetry, again, we spoke about products that is not being focused on. Observability is yet another thing. It's very, very important for AI, right? So ADK has that feature. And again, A2A and MCP and all these protocols, because we understand these protocols, we should build in this kind of observability in that so that we understand what happens when those communication happens.
So Prashant, when the GenAI and the LLM era started way back in 22, when the AI started creating the buzz, there was an organization started to creating the prompt A/B testing kind of platforms, right?
Yeah.
Do you think now we move from the prompt engineering to context engineering, the agents area, then agentic AI, right? Do you think there is a scope of work to create the AI simulator as well? Like before going to the production, I can verify beforehand, so my production release can be normal and it can be more useful for my end user results.
Got it. No, definitely yes, and it may actually be easier than we think it is, right? Because after all, it is what you need in a simulator. And again, correct me if my understanding is, if I'm not getting how you're thinking about it, essentially these are test cases, right? So one, we can have AI generate these test cases. We can have it come up with various different ways, have the AI take on different personas and ask questions in complex, ambiguous ways, right? And those would form the test cases. Right, and then we have evaluation suites and so on. So definitely, yes, it is definitely possible, right? And we should be doing this, yes. So again, A/B testing is something that you mentioned, right? So it's interesting, right? The prompt, you may have arrived at the most beautiful prompt or the perfect prompt. It will break when you change your model, right? You cannot sit in a model which is like 1 year old.
Agree.
So you need to keep doing this A/B testing and keep having your cases. We have the feedback loop that we spoke about, right? So the data from the feedback loop has to go back in, right? We need to generate new test cases based on what the user likes, doesn't like. So 100% yes, I think it's a great opportunity. We should probably think about building something like that. Maybe a suite that people can just plug and play.
Agree.
Why not?
Agree. And most of the applications in Google Cloud soon, if you see the Vertex AI model garden, right? Everything is very neat and clean, okay? So from your role, how you maintain this kind of a good documentations?
No, so again, this is where also, documentation is very, very important for us, right? So for us as at Google, our DNA is that we build developer-friendly interfaces like you would have seen from Google search, right? It's a very clean interface, right? So that DNA is continued in Google. And even in all the developer products, we try to create something which is intuitive, which is easily understandable.
Right.
The way to make something easily understandable without us having to go explain things to people is to ensure documentation is solid, rock solid, right? So it's part of the process.
Okay.
So part of the SDLC, part of the dev process, part of the release process, we ensure that we have documentation. As advocates, we look at documentation, right? So when a new product gets launched or is being launched, we take a look if it is easily can be understood and consumed by the developer, right? So we'll take a look if documentation is available. We'll give the feedback to the documentation teams, to the engineering teams, right? So it's like I said, we do a very thorough process to ensure that everything is there. I'll be honest, yes, there are misses, but that's why we also interact with developers to see how the way we understand it is not the way the users see it.
No,
right? So we keep doing that.
The documentation is pretty good. It's like if you see from the point of the certifications point of view, recently launched Generative AI leader certification. If somebody has gone through the documentation of that particular certification, it's very easier for him or her to clear the exam. There's no need to be separate course to purchase it, right?
Correct.
That's how detailed documentation is.
Thank you so much. It really it makes me happy to hear that, because we put in a lot of effort to ensure documentation is good, and happy to hear that you're finding this useful.
Thank you so much. And there's another question. Antriksh, you are connecting with the Prashant. Just ask, if somebody wants to become on this role, developer advocacy, what Google looks exactly? It is a DSA required, or only the knowledge of the domain?
No. In Google, right, and different developer relations roles in different companies may operate differently. In Google, developer advocacy is part of engineering.
Okay.
Right? So we are in the engineering ladder, so you need to have sufficient technical skills.
Okay.
Right? Yes, also a part of it is your understanding of users' problems, showing empathy, right? Being able to resonate with the users, being able to communicate. So it's equal parts all of this, right? So yes, while DSA algorithms is important, or let's say technical skills is important, right? You cannot rely on, so you need to go beyond a hello world, right? You need to be able to use a new product.
Right.
Because one, I need to understand how developers build use cases with the technologies we're launching. So I need to be able to build those things out myself to prove that the product is in a good shape that we can launch it. Right? Okay. So you need that amount of technical skills is definitely needed. But yes, also in addition to that, your communication, you're able to understand the problems, looking at these things like documentation, finding gaps, right? Having that analytical mindset. So these are all a part of what we look for somebody who wants to become an advocate.
All right. So thank you so much, Prashant, for giving your important and the precious time at the Google I/O Connect 2025.
My pleasure, Rex. Thank you so much.
I hope this podcast and this Creative Studio shares a very good knowledge with our larger audience in India, along with the Google Cloud and AI. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Thanks, guys. This is me, Antriksh Gupta, closing this note. Thank you.